And nice to have you with us on a busy Wednesday as we talked about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. Yours truly, of course, here on Mad Dog Unleashed, Christopher Russo, Bill, Eddie, and Colin as we take you home here on this midweek program on the 10th day of October, the year 2018. Lots to do, of course, today. Mostly baseball, as you'd expect, with flipping this and then flipping that. As far as the afternoon is concerned, we did an interview with Alex Cora for the television today. It's a quickie, but we'll give you a little taste of that maybe early on in this program as we babble away and have some fun and discuss. Lots to do on this busy afternoon. We obviously have the Red Sox, and I got that incredibly wrong on more levels than you can shake a stick at. I got it wrong in March. I got it wrong, at the end of the regular season, and I got it wrong a couple days ago, and I thought the Yankees were going to win these two games at Yankee Stadium. So if you're a Red Sox fan and you know who you are out there, including Victoria out there in Long Island, New Jersey, have at it, because that's a bad job on my part. The Red Sox were much more resourceful than the Yankees were, offensively specifically. They were much better managed with Cora over Boone, and as a result, and they got essentially a lot better starting pitching, which I didn't think they would, Eovaldi and Porcello, and as a result, turned around and beat the Yankees in a 4-game series, which really wasn't riveting into the ninth inning. Although game one was good, and the second half of game one, and obviously the ninth inning last night was tremendous, and it was the Yankee comeback that was really engineered because Kimbrel is a major problem, and if you're a Red Sox fan right now, you would be very nervous about Kimbrel in a big game. I mean, he basically handed the game to the Yankees, and if in fact Stanton could do anything, and we'll get to him in a minute, that game might be a different outcome. But the Red Sox, over a short period of time, were the better team, and over a long period of time, the Red Sox are the better team. From April through September, they won 108 games. The Yankees won about 101, 102. The Red Sox won the division going away. The Red Sox buried the Yankees in that 4-game series in August at Fenway to put away the division. The Yankees tried to make a little noise in the last 6 weeks, but they were so feeble at it that when the Red Sox came to Yankee Stadium, it was very ho-hum in September, 18th, 19th, and 20th. The Red Sox won on the 20th to clinch the division, and so as a result, the Red Sox had two big parties thanks to the Yankees. I'm sure they had charged John Henry, but they had two big parties in the visitors' clubhouse at the house that Ruth built at Yankee Stadium. So from that standpoint, the Red Sox really, from April 1st on, proved they were the better baseball team. And I did not think that they were going to win this series. I thought the Yankees were going to win this series. I picked them in 4 because I didn't want the scenario of Sale in the 5th game. So I said I better pick them in 4 if I'm going to pick them, and I thought that I was on my way there, and then the Yankees fell apart these last 2 days, outscored 20-4 at Yankee Stadium, and the 2 runs they got last night in the 9th inning were joke runs. I mean, they were runs because Kimbrel was, my favorite line, You know what he was doing on the mound. I mean, he was gagging is what he was doing, and somehow he found a player who gags more than him in Stanton, and he got out of it. So there you have it. All right, let's do a couple quickies. So we have a lot to do on the Red Sox today, and you're going to hear Corey here in a minute. But let's start the program off with where we should start it off, and that is with the Yankees and the 3 GOATs in this series, and then we'll get to the big picture and then your calls. The 3 GOATs in the series, not in a particular order. Number 1, I'm going to put Stanton there. Stanton does not have a clutch gene in him. Stanton buried St. Louis. I'm not going. Buried San Francisco. I'm not going. Never played a meaningful game in his life in Miami. Nobody paid attention to him in Miami. He could hit 59 home runs. Nobody cared. This is a guy that played in obscurity for a long period of time, signed a big contract there, never had to win a game in September. Unlucky a couple times with injury, but never had to win a game, and he got hit by a pitch once by Fires, which was unfortunate, but he never had to win a game in a big spot in his career. He wanted to come to the Yankees. His 4 finalists to be traded to with Derek Jeter was Houston, the Cubs, the Yankees, and the Dodgers. So he he made his own bet. He's going to line it. And he came to New York with a lot of fanfare, and he was completely overshadowed all year long by other players on his team. He had the quietest 38 home runs in the history of mankind. He had to bust his butt at the end of the year to get to 100 RBIs. These are the Yankees. He had a good opening day and then didn't do a lot for a long period of time. But again, in Yankee land, nobody cares what you do between April and September 30th. It is what you do in October. And in October, he fell apart. He was atrocious in this series. He had 4 lousy singles. I think he had 22 at-bats. It may have been 18 at-bats. I think it was 18. But he did nothing in the... Yeah, he's 222, 4 for 18. He did nothing in this series whatsoever. He struck out 4 times in big spots on Friday night in Game 1. And then last night, he did obviously nothing again. And in the biggest at-bat of the game, first and second, nobody out. Yankees lots of momentum after the walk with 4 pitches to Judge and a ground single by DeGorius to right field. He goes out there and he strikes out at 3 pitches where he will almost look like relieved that he can get out of the batter's box. I mean, Stanton is, and I said it back in December, this is not a first, this is not a second guess. This is a complete first guess. I said it then, and I'm going to say it until the cows come home. He will be a complete waste of time and a complete bust for $263 million when all is said and done with the Yankees. They did not need him. They had plenty of good players without him, and they did not need the expense, and now they are stuck with him. He's a DH. This is a complete waste. He's not A-Rod because he's a good guy, and A-Rod is a bit of a phony. So he's not A-Rod, but this is going to be an albatross around the Yankees for the next 9 years. Mark it down. Write it down. His season next year doesn't start until October 1st. Think about it. He can hit 60 homers next 6 months of the year. He goes 4 for 18 with 9 million strikeouts again in a playoff series. He's going to be booed out of the building. This is it. It's the way it is. He's going to be overshadowed by Judge. It's very much like A-Rod and Jeter with him and Judge. It's the same exact thing. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the manager. And I've said this 1,000 times. I'm going to say it again. The Yankees, the fact that they fired Girardi. Now, listen, he was there 9 years. I'm not there on a day-in, day-out basis. Maybe he wears out his welcome. 9 years for anybody is a long time. I know better than anybody about that. I'm sure they're sick of me here after 9 years, 10 years. It's a long time to be there on a day-in, day-out basis. Feelings get frayed. I think people got fed up with each other. And you could make the argument, if you wish, that the Yankees just needed a change. Now, it was weird the way they did it when Girardi did a tremendous job in managing that Yankee team last year. A young team that never quit, that won 91 games, came from 0-2, won a wild card game trailing, came from 0-2 down against the Indians, and then came within literally a foot of beating the Astros in Game 6 in Verlander down in Houston. A foot. 1 foot. With Todd Frazier in the top of the 7th inning. That 3-run homer, if it did go an extra foot, they would have won that game, and they would have won a World Series themselves. So they fired Girardi off that. All right, contract was up. I get it. They didn't want to pay him. I think that's a big factor here. They can deny all they want. He was making $4 million a year. They got Boone at $1 million a year. I mean, Boone's making $1 million a year. That's all he's making. He's not making a ton of money. And obviously, Girardi was going to get asked for 4 years, $20 million, and I don't think the Yankees had any stomach with the way it goes for managers to pay a guy that kind of money to manage their team. Not in this day and age when the front office wants a mouthpiece, when the front office wants a bunch of 25-year-olds who went to Dartmouth, who are geeks, who go to the office every day with Dartmouth shirts on, and look at the computer for 10 hours and then punch the lineup up and give it to the manager to put on the field that night. And that's exactly, I think, what the Yankees wanted with Boone. Boone had no managerial experience whatsoever. He came out of the... And Boone's a good man, but he came out of the broadcast. I don't care about his father being a man. Nobody cares. Him himself had no managerial experience, and he's a good guy. He handles the media well, and I'm sure he answers to his boss as well. But the bottom line is he has no experience, no practical experience in a big spot, and this showed and reared its ugly head in these 4 games. I mean, you can't manage by formula. And you can't manage by analytics. When push comes to shove, you got to manage with what you see. And Boone, the last 2 nights, obviously Severino out there forever. Sabathia, we all know about the 3rd inning, out there forever against all those right-hand hitters in a do-or-die game. That is a terrible job by Boone. Terrible. You can't support it. You can't defend it. You can do nothing. All you can say is this: when you put a guy in charge who has no experience in these big games, and the Yankees are about big games. Nobody gives a crap that the Yankees in June beat the White Sox 3 out of 4. All right, nobody cares. Or how Aaron Boone sets the template in the clubhouse. Nobody cares. Nobody's interested, because in New York, with this payroll and the prices they charge and this group of talent, you got to do better than winning 2 playoff games and losing 2 of them at home. And he did not do that. That's the bottom line. That's the fact. You can't change it. The Yankees wanted to go this way. They brought in a novice manager with no experience. And let's be honest, he spit the bit. There's nothing else to say. Did they lose the series because of Boone? No, they did not. They would have probably lost Game 3 anyway. We'll get to Severino in a minute. And obviously they didn't play very well in Game 4. Who knows if he, in fact, got Sabathia out of there when he should have. Maybe they don't fall behind 3-0. I can't answer that. They didn't hit the whole series either. It's a home run hitting team. They didn't hit with men in scoring position. I don't want to put the whole series on Boone, but the bottom line is he didn't distinguish himself. That's the bottom line. They're paying him $1 million a year. $1 million a year. This is the New York Yankee manager, a franchise that's worth over $2 billion. $2 billion. And they're paying a guy who's the spokesman, who's the leader of the group, who's out there 3 times a day with the media for 7 or 8 months. They deem that person to be so superfluous, they pay him $1 million a year. I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because I feel like saying it. I make more. Okay? A dopey little talk show host who has done nothing makes more. And I'm not managing the New York Yankees, a team that's been around for 120 years. Ruth, DiMaggio, Mantle, and Garrick. Jeter, Mattingly, Munson. I make more. That's a joke. But the GM wants to run the team. The front office wants to run the team. And Boone, you can't call the GM up in the middle of these games. What do you think, Brian? What do I do here? And that's the problem. That's the second issue. The third issue is, and at least Cora had some experience with A.J. Hinch. With Houston. The third situation with the Yankees is their starting pitching. I mean, think about this for a second. The last 2 years, they have played a lot of elimination games because they have played, the 3 games against Cleveland, a couple of wild card games. But in the last 3 years, 3 knockout games, CC Sabathia was a starting pitcher. He's 40 years old. They brought him back because they wanted to be nice. They gave him $10 million. And he's been a great Yankee pitcher and been a great pitcher in his career. He's not a Hall of Famer, but he's been an excellent pitcher, and he helped the Yankees win in 2009. No question about it. But the issue is you cannot, under any circumstances, this day and age, have CC Sabathia be the guy to save your bacon. He pitched Game 5 last year in Cleveland, although he pitched okay, out of there after 4 1/3. He pitched Game 7 last year in Houston, stunk up the joint, and he stunk up the joint last night. If you are the New York Yankees and you have to rely on CC Sabathia to get you home in a playoff series when you're down 2-1, that's a problem. I would have pitched Happ on short rest, albeit only 40. I understand that, short rest, but he only did pitch 45 pitches in Game 1. It wasn't like he went 120 pitches in 8 innings in the loss on Friday night. So I would have gone there because I cannot trust Sabathia in that situation to keep that game stabilized until I can figure something out offensively. And they did not do that. And as a result, Sabathia put him in a 3-0 hole, thanks in part to the manager, who, was a deer in headlights. And as a result, they fell apart and lost the game. So that's the third thing. And the Yankee pitching is a disaster. Happ stunk. He's a 4th starter on a real good team. Severino collapsed, and his Game 3 performance is befuddling. I mean, he was terrible, and he's not been great. I don't care how young he is. He has digressed since the All-Star break, and he wasn't great last year in the postseason. And obviously, you're sitting there, Tanaka pitches 5 innings. The Yankees don't have any pitch. Sonny Gray stinks. The Yankees, they don't have any starting pitching. And it's simple as that. They don't have a big-time starter. I mean, where is their ace? The Red Sox at least have Sale. The Astros have a couple guys. The Dodgers have a couple guys. This Bueller's great. Even the Brewers got Shasheen, for crying out loud. Where is the Yankee big pitcher? This is, for instance, the Yankees, not the Kansas City Royals. These are the Yankees. They don't have one. And finally, let me put a bow on this for a second. And I know people seem to think that the Yankees had this great year because they won 100 games. I know. No offense to anybody with the team. Tony Russo could come back from heaven and be the manager of the Yankees and win 100 games. All right? This team in the American League, by absolute luck, should have won 100 games. Look at all the American League teams. Buck Showalter, fired. Orioles, horrendous. John Gibbons, fired. Blue Jays lost over 90 games. Paul Molitor, fired. And his team finished in second place in that horrendous division. Jeff Bannister, fired. Texas, last place. Not to mention 3 teams that lost 100 games. The Orioles, the White Sox, and Kansas City. This is the worst American League. I've said this for about a month. This is the worst American League that I have witnessed since Ban Johnson. And look him up. 51 years of watching baseball. I cannot recall an American League this bad. You almost had 4 teams win 100 games. And if the A's cared down the stretch, they would have. The Yankees won 100, the Red Sox won 100, the Astros won 100, and the A's won 97 games. I mean, this league was so bad that anybody could have won 100. That's all there is to it. So the idea that the Yankees had some unbelievable season because they won 100 games is such a bunch of nonsense. I mean, it's absolutely absurd. It's ridiculous. And I can't. The Yankees did not have a good season because they won 100 games. The Yankees never challenged Boston all year in the last half of the season. They were in nowheresville for a long time. They had the Red Sox celebrate in this ballpark twice, and they got buried in the postseason. That's not a big season if you're a Yankee fan. That about covers it. 3:19, we take a timeout, we continue.